October 2nd, 1903. Good news! Teacher says that Blue and I are making very good progress, and that there is a chance we shall be promoted to third grade even before Hanukkah. We study every afternoon after school, and sometimes in the evenings. I prefer studying at our house in the evenings, as I find Blue's father somewhat strange. Well, not strange, just cold. He always has his nose buried in a newspaper, and if the baby cries, he says to his wife, "Make it stop." It, he calls his own child. It. Is that not strange? It is a little boy named Emmanuel. P.S. I should be able to study harder now that High Holy Days are over. More time, more food. After fasting on Yom Kippur, all the next day I felt as if my brains had floated out of my head. I guess that is what they mean when they say one feels lightheaded. October 3rd, 1903. When I was in the lavatory this morning, I heard the Sheehans yelling as usual, and I finally understood one English word. No, two. Little Protestant. It was the old grandma, and she really spat the words out. When I came out of the lavatory, Mrs. Sheehan was running down the hall crying, and the grandma was glaring at her. The grandmother looks awful. She has no teeth, so her face collapses around her mouth. There is no mouth, really, just a dark hole that is sucked in and spits out words. Mr. Sheehan just stood in the doorway looking 1 second at his wife and the next at his mother, as if he didn't know which side to choose. Then he started coughing and went inside. He's very sickly looking. I would hate to be married to someone like that. Sick, can't make up his mind. But he should be on his wife's side. October 4th, 1903. Am I not good writing this first time in English? Here is what I want to say. There is a boy who is a true pain. His name is Yitzhak Silver. I have to switch back to Yiddish now, because I am not fluent enough to tell you how really annoying this boy is. He got here a year ago, and he is already in 8th grade. He thinks he knows everything. A real mater. Mr. Bigwheel. And he's at least an inch shorter than either Blue or me. Now here's the problem. He's invited himself over to help us build our sukkah booth tomorrow on the fire escape. Says he can get some good bamboo poles and branches. Here's how he talks. I got this connection with a copper, his slang for policeman, on Delaney Street. He can fix me up with some good materials through a brother-in-law. Just at that minute, Tova walks up. She says to him, "Oh, sure, of course, you must come." They start blabbering away in English in front of Blue and me. I felt it was very rude. Then he turns to me and says something in English that I don't understand, but later Tova translated. He said your sister is a smart cookie, meaning Tova because of her good English. Smart cookie? What a stupid expression. Something tells me that English is going to be somewhat of a disappointment after Yiddish. October 6th, 1903. In spite of Yitzi, that's his nickname, we did have fun putting together the sukkah on our fire escape. More helpful than Yitzi was Sean O'Malley. Yitzi did bring some wood poles, but Sean apparently had gone uptown and snitched some branches for us with beautiful turning leaves, orange and red and gold. Tova has joined an organization called the Yiddish Jugend. They supposedly discuss the problems of the world and the terrible conditions of the sweatshops. Mama says she thinks all they do is go to the Café Royale on 2nd Avenue and 12th Street and spend their money on coffee and pastry. Tova better watch it that Typhoid Mary doesn't get a job in their kitchen. Tova only makes $5.20 a week, and she brings all of it home, so I don't think she's eating out much. Anyhow, she brought home one of her friends from the group, Band 11. He looks like a wild man, hair sticking straight out all over his head. If it were red, he would look like a burning fire out of control. He was nice, though. He and Yitzi, with Sean's help, got the sukkah up in no time. Then the fun part came, putting on the branches. Blue's younger sister made paper chains. Blue, Miriam, and I made paper leaves. Papa was right. It wasn't the same kind of sukkah. Not as beautiful, perhaps, and no fragrant evergreens. But there was one interesting thing. In Russia, I took the scars for granted. Here, I don't. Yitzi, Sean, and Mandy stayed for dinner in the sukkah. Food tastes better outside. Then it started to rain, so we went in. October 7th, 1903. Heard grouchy old Mrs. Sheehan yelling again across the air shaft. Caught more words, but had to ask Tova to translate. She yelled at her daughter-in-law something about a sneaky little Protestant smile. I didn't know what sneaky was. Tova explained. I feel so sorry for the young Mrs. Sheehan to have to live with that piece of disturbance. And Mrs. Sheehan is Catholic, just like the old lady, and Irish, so I don't understand. Just because she's from a different part of Ireland, it shouldn't make a difference. The other English I learned was from a sign on the store over on Broadway when I walked with Tova. It said, Irish need not apply. It seems sad to see such a sign in this country, which is supposed to be a democracy. Tova says unions will change all that. October 8th, 1903. These days are fun. For almost every night during Sukkot, we have had a guest. Just when I thought Yitzi was getting tolerable, he goes and does such a Yitzi-ish thing. Tova is talking about what she likes about Sukkot, that it is so democratic. All Jews, rich or poor, are asked to eat in a simple shelter, just like the Jews who wandered in the desert with Moses for 40 years. I said that as far as I could tell, there weren't any rich Jews around here. Well, Yitzi breaks in. Ah, uptown, he says. There are lots of rich Jews uptown, German Jews. Tova thinks these Jews are bad. She says they are responsible for what is called the sweating system that allows the sweatshops and all the terrible conditions in the factories. How's this? I asked. She said it's because the Germans think they are too good to hold a needle or a scissors and they get other people to do it. They are contractors and don't care about the conditions of the workers. They want to distance themselves from not just manual labor, but from all Jewish immigrants. But they were immigrants, I say. They came here earlier, much earlier, says Yitzi. They know more about being American. Tova just snorts. We embarrass them, says Tova. They don't have any accent, says Yitzi. Not a trace. They speak English like real Yankees. Then he starts going on about the Freed family and the Warburg family and the Baumgolds, and how he's got a connection with this one and that one. He is a 13-year-old boy, just had his bar mitzvah 6 months ago. Now you tell me how this bar mitzvah boy knows all these uptown folks. October 9th, 1903. Uncle Moishy came for dinner in the sukkah last night. It is only the second time we have seen him since we've been here, except at Yom Kippur services, but that doesn't count because we only saw him from the women's section, and then he rushed right off. He got a promotion at Brooks Brothers. He and Yitzi hit it off famously. Yitzi says he wishes his father would get a job at Brooks Brothers. His father is a designer in a small factory, and according to Yitzi, the factory owes its success to his father's talent in copying uptown fashion in cloaks for men. But the owners of the factory treat everyone miserably. They play favorites and never trust anyone, and often do not let them go to the toilet. And they threaten to fire them all the time if they are just 1 minute late to work. If Mama is upset about Papa and no side locks, she should take a good hard look at Uncle Moishy. Not only no side locks, he is not wearing his ritual fringes. Later the same evening, Mama noticed. She wailed, "My own dear brother has lost his soul threads." That's what Mama calls the zit-zit, for they are supposed to remind men to observe all the commandments and all the Jewish laws for leading a blessed life. Papa didn't say anything. He just went over and gave her a pat on the shoulder. But there was something in his eyes that made me wince a little. I think perhaps Papa has been thinking of taking off his fringes. Next thing you know, Mama said, he won't be wearing his skull cap. Well, he doesn't. I saw him take the yarmulke off as soon as he left that night, when he was halfway down the first flight of stairs. October 10th, 1903. Guess what Miriam and Tova and I did last night? Slept outside. The weather suddenly turned hot for October. Sean told Miriam that folks sleep out on the roof all the time in the hot weather. So we climbed right up there. If you lie flat on your back, you can see nothing but sky and stars. October 15th, 1903. I am sick with worry. Just when I thought things were getting a little better between Mama and Papa, they get worse. Just when I thought this was the most wonderful sukkot, with every evening Mandy or Sean or Blue coming over, even Yitzi. I mean, he is entertaining. Everything falls apart. Mama is furious because Papa didn't go to shul for Simchat Torah services that marked the end of Sukkot. It was such a nice service, too. Here in this shul in America, when they bring the Torah around, they let the women reach through the screen or over it and touch the Torah. It was very exciting. Women never touched the Torah in the old country. We thought we were supposed to meet Papa at the synagogue. When we get home, He comes in a moment later, full of apologies. He forgot. His boss got many bundles. The bundles are the pieces to be made into cloaks. Workers in the shop compete to get bundles, and he gave Papa 3. And Papa just got so carried away he forgot. So you forgot the blessed Torah for the blessed cloaks? Mama spat out the words. He put down the money he had made, for it was payday. It was a large stack of dollar bills. Almost 25. This is the most money Papa has ever made in a week. But Mama just stared at it as if it were dirt. Animal droppings. Dreck. October 19th, 1903. The argument goes on and on between Mama and Papa. Every night for 3 days. I can practically say their lines. Mama: I thought I married a pious man. Papa: No, Sarah. You married a musician whom you thought would turn into a pious man. Mama: May I be left blind if I did not think when I looked at you playing your violin the first time in Zarica that this was a pious man. May I have 100 years of blackness upon me. Papa: Don't curse yourself, Sarah. This is America, Sarah. Mama: I curse Columbus. Papa: He's dead already. Mama: And a good thing. Not soon enough. Not before 1492. This startles me. How does Mama know the year Columbus discovered America? Oh well, I am too sad to think. October 20th, 1903. Last night, after Mama and Papa's fight, when we 3 girls climbed into bed, Tova was asleep in a minute, but Miriam and I lay awake. Miriam could tell how upset I was, and put her arms around me and tried to comfort me. It worked for a moment, but then, just as I was on that funny, milky little border between waking and sleeping, I had a sudden and terrible thought. I jerked awake. What is it, Zipporah? Miriam whispered. Oh, Miriam, what if Mama and Papa get divorced, and Mama marries Reb Simcha because he is such a pious man? Don't be ridiculous, Zippy. They are not going to get divorced, and there is no way that Mama is going to marry Reb Simcha. She complains about him smelling just as much as we do. Then I say, she'd clean him up. Nothing Miriam can tell me helps. Finally, she says that it is warm in the apartment, and let's take some blankets and our shawls to the roof. So we do. It is chilly, but I have a good night's sleep. October 21st, 1903. Sleeping on the roof is good for me. I feel better. I think better. I am figuring things out between Mama and Papa. First of all, I figured out that Mama is truly mixed up. Much more so than me. They need to compromise. Miriam agrees, and so does Tova. I asked them both, do they think it is very odd that Mama knew about Columbus the other night? Mama has no real book learning. She can read, but she only reads the prayer book, and the labels on bottles, or the signs for sales. So I conclude she must have peeked into one of my school books. So, Tova says, as only Tova can say so, as if to puncture any thought you might have, so it deflates like a tired old balloon. But I say, so, does this not give you any idea that perhaps Mama is curious? About what? Miriam asks. Columbus, says Tova. Not only that, but about what I am learning in school, and maybe she feels left out. Look, she is here all day, alone. I go to school. You two and Papa go to work. Reb Simcha goes to shul and does whatever they pay him there to do. Clean up, sweep, whatever. She stays here, thinking about Zarica and how life will never be the same again. But she is scared to go out by herself, Tova says. I know that is true, I explain, but I think perhaps we must bring some life to her, and then she will stop worrying about Papa and his piety. So this was my compromise. We should rent a sewing machine for Mama. She sews beautifully. She should begin custom dressmaking. Papa, in turn, will agree to go to shul more often and never skip his morning prayers, as he has done. And I will help Mama with the dressmaking, find clients for her, and maybe I shall begin to share some of my school books with her, teach her some English. Miriam smiles and says what a wonderful idea, but Tova just looks puzzled. October 22nd, 1903. It rained last night, so we could not sleep on the roof. But when I awoke in the middle of the night, Miriam was gone. At first I thought she had just gone to the lavatory in the hall, but when she returned her hair was damp, as if she had been outside. October 23rd, 1903. Hope at last for Mama and Papa. I talked to Papa about the compromise, and he thinks it is a very good idea. Then he went right out, and with all the money he made doing those extra bundles on Simchat Torah, he rented a sewing machine. He got one for $1.50 per month. It is nearly a tenth of his usual weekly pay, but I think it will be worth it. Mamma hesitated at first, but then I told her I could go out and do all the business for her and take orders here on the Lower East Side. Maybe Yitzy with his uptown connections could get her uptown work, and she could start making some dresses. Papa said, "You will make us rich, Sarah. You are much better with the needle than I am." From your mouth to God's ears. That was what Tanta Fruma always said, and when Mamma said that, I knew that things were changing. So I jumped in. "Mamma, it will be fun, you and me working together, and I can teach you the English words for things like buttons and thread and hems and bias cut and sleeves and collars." And then all of us reminded her how beautifully she sews. And Mamma lifted her apron and burst into tears. Mamma cried like a baby. You think she is going to die because she holds her breath. But she didn't die. She sat down at the sewing machine and touched it gently with her small hands. "So, what do you call this, Zipporah?" Pointing to Derad. "Wheel, Mamma." "And this?" "Treadle, Mamma." "And this?" "Bobbin, Mamma." And then, I really think of this as a miracle, our little conversation seemed to fall into the cadences of a song, and I was so wrapped up in teaching Mamma the English names that I did not see Papa go and fetch his violin. But suddenly this dark little room began to fill with the notes. They stole in softly, slowly winding through the dark shadows and small pools of light cast by the two gas fixtures. The music was so delicate it made me think of the slightest breeze that often stirred the grass at the edge of the Pitch River on a summer day. But no, not like the wind really at all. More like butterflies. That is how these notes were, like beautiful delicate butterflies that had escaped from a long ago sunny day into the night of our tenement apartment on Orchard Street. The room began to shimmer with the music my father was making. October 27th, 1903. I had to wait a long time for young Mrs. Sheehan to come out of the lavatory this morning. While she was in there, I heard these funny little sounds. When she came out, I realized she had been crying. I feel so sorry for her. Sean told us that her husband lost his job, and Miriam said she thinks Sean gives them money he makes for being the Shabbos goy and turning down the gas lights.